What's up, Fiery 49 fans? We're back. Beautiful bluegrass morning, 50 degrees, sun shining. We're going to get out and put a few more miles on Fiery 49. Got to drive it for the first time legally the other day. We're now licensed, registered, insured, vehicle inspected. We're legal to be on the road. Still more work to do. Obviously, the brake system upgrades coming up. On the wiring side of things, we've started the fuse panel install. Haven't finished it. Don't have the headlights power back up. There's still some of the factory wiring that we haven't got power back to because of how things were modified by the previous owners. But the big thing, most of the systems are working, but we have not addressed fluids in the drivetrain except for the engine. The coolant's been changed, engine oil has been changed. We've not done this has a 4-speed manual transmission. Fluids not changed in it. The rear differential, also old fluids. And because this is a fire engine with a pump on it that has a transfer case, there's a transfer case that has fluids in it. Basically all gear oils. We're gonna take Fiery 49 out to the parts store, which is really close by. Just pick up the fluids and start the fluid changes so everything will have fresh fluids in it. Get everything in the driveline cleaned up where it should be, and then we'll dig back into the wiring when we get a chance. You know, there's more to do. That's a slow, tedious thing. We've been doing a lot of it with no video because it's just hard to film it. So it's taking several days of taking pictures and getting little short snippets trying to show what we're doing. We'll just compile all that into one, 10-15 minute video later on instead of a bunch of little short clips. So that's what we're getting into today, but should be a good day, looking beautiful, at least for now. I think some rain coming later, so we'll get on the road here in just a minute, go pick some fluids up, and let you guys take a ride with us. All right, here we are under Fiery 49. The fact that we're under here means that we got lucky. The trip to the parts store worked out. We didn't have to call for a tow truck or anything, but I'm going to try and get this done today. But if you're not familiar with the Driveline or what's under a truck, specifically a fire truck, rear differential, that's the drive shaft coming down there. Engine turns that, turns the rear wheels. So pretty simple, but fluid change in that. It runs with 90 weight gear oil coming up the drive shaft here, specific to engine, pumper, fire truck. We've got the pump and the pump transfer case. So the pump housing is the part here centered up right now. You can see some of the plumbing, all the stuff above it. So the pump's operating in there. Right here at the front of it, the really greasy part where the other drive shaft half goes in, that's actually the transfer case. So that takes the drive shaft from the transmission ahead of it into the transfer case, and if you're driving down the road, it simply puts it on down through that drive shaft to the rear differential. But if you're going to pump the truck, you throw the lever in the cab. This one has a mechanical lever, not an air shift like a more modern truck, but the transfer case, just like it would in a four-wheel drive truck, engages the different drive line. In this case, it engages the pump, and the pump starts turning, and the rear drive shaft is disconnected so the wheels don't turn and the truck doesn't drive off, and that's how you pump. But That also is a 90 weight gear oil. And as we go further under, follow the drive shaft up, and we're going to go there. That is the 4-speed manual transmission. This truck is a clutch manual transmission. You can see the levers coming out of the back there, down through, off the back side, but that runs from the cab, just a lever in there, engages the transfer case. It does engage. We actually had it engage accidentally once before, but also 90 weight gear oil in the transmission up there. So we bought several gallons of 90 weight because that's what everything takes, but we'll start the transmission, work our way back down the drive line to the transfer case, change out the transfer case gear oil, and then to the rear end, and then get rid of what I am sure is decades old fluids in these. I don't know what the maintenance was like on this truck when it was in service, but it ran until about 1982. And if I had to guess, I would say around the early 80s is when the maintenance on the truck ceased, because it was taken out of service, not registered any longer after that, until purchased for private collection. So anyway, hang tight. We'll try to film some of this and just show the basic stuff of changing out fluids. All right, no good way to hold this under here, so gonna be a bit shaky, but you can see here we're at the transmission. It's pretty straightforward. Fill plug, drain plug. Obviously you can see there's some leaks in it. The rear seal has some run down there. Most of what's on here though is actually engine oil. The valve cover was leaking. It has been leaking. We've replaced that, but years of buildup of engine oil leaking. You can see how it kind of starts up there, blows back, gets filled with dirt and goo, makes it kind of sticky. So we do have some small leaks. You can see we've been sitting here for a few minutes and still got some stuff leaking, but you know, it's a 49 that's been sitting. Seals dry out, the rubber dries, cracks. Sometimes it comes back with driving, sometimes not. We'll eventually address all of this, but for right now, we're just trying to get roadworthy. Like I said, if you've watched our previous videos, you know eventually we're building an engine to put in here to replace the 49, which has splash lubrication versus full pressure lubrication, just for dependability, drivability, and also to not tear up the original engine. But let's pull this drain plug out, if it'll turn. Oh, lucky, very lucky. So don't think we'll have any issue with that. Glad that's not stuck, but pretty straightforward. Take the drain plug out. What fluid's in there will drain out, and then we fill it back up here. You just pump fluid in until it runs out here, and then you're set. So nothing too crazy, and I'm going to need both hands to do this, but that's where it's at. Let's see if maybe I can get this one out while we're talking. Obviously, this is going to be nasty, ugly when it comes out. For all I know, this is original 1949 gear oil. It may have never been changed. With the low miles this truck has on it, 6,700-ish original miles. So we did drive the truck first. I did that just to get the fluid warm so it would flow better. You can see nice and black, very much in need of being changed. So we'll let that drain out, and then I'll show you the process of filling it up. All right, drain plug. Back in, we've cleaned it off, captured all of our old fluids. It's a shame you can't smell what you're seeing, because it's you can just smell it and know it's very, very old. You know, obviously old fluids, this is all organic compound type stuff, so it breaks down, it gets old. That's why they say, you know, when they say change your engine oil every 3,000 miles or 3 months, it's because once it's contaminated, the oil breaks down even if it's just sitting. So, but let's see if the fill plug will now come out easy. Shouldn't lose anything out of this because we drained the transmission. This is just a fill plug. Lucky again, not too tight. So that does at least give me some confidence that some maintenance was done on this up until it was taken out of service. So nothing looks too bad, nothing cracked. And simple as that, just a basic plug. Goes up in there, and we've since you can't get a funnel into this, we did purchase a little pump. We bought gallon jugs of the gear oil, and basically we'll just use the pump and pump it in there and fill this up, and we'll put the drain pan back under, because you fill it till the oil runs out, and then you stop and you're at capacity. Obviously do that on level ground. We're on a fairly level paved area, so but just as a note, You don't want to do it on a hill because you can either run it with too much fluid or not enough, and both are just as bad for any kind of mechanical stuff. So anyway, let's get our pump set up and we'll fill the transmission back up. All right, we're set up. We got our pump on our jug of gear oil, tube feeding in. Should be primed. I think it's starting to pick up. There you go. You can see compared to the very, very black and very stinky, I guess is the best way to describe it, old gear oil, this is what's going in. So simple matter now, we'll pump until it's full. We do have our rag here to catch when it does run out. They weren't as environmentally conscious in 49, so we will be. The bit that runs out once we're full, we'll make sure to catch any drippings as best we can. But we're going to pump a minute until we get gear oil back out of the fill plug, and then we'll move on to the transfer case. Exactly 7,243 pumps later, we have nearly a gallon of gear oil in the transmission. You can see the little stream coming out there, so we're collecting that, but it is now full. See if we can get our plug in without making a much bigger mess, but yeah, 1 of 3 down. All right, we're back at the transfer case for the pump. Like I said earlier, pump, you can see all the pump housing and stuff up in there. Fuel lines, or not fuel lines, but water lines, drains for the pump. There's the tank to pump. Back there, the little tank on the truck runs down to the pump here, but for the transfer case, it's funny, the huge pipe thread plugs that were on the transmission. This transfer case has these little bitty plugs here, still a pipe thread, but you can see the size difference there. Get our fill plug out. Set it aside. Luckily, everything coming out, it's nice and loose. Nothing is stuck. Well, that's not good. Nothing came out. Now, that is bad because we've been driving. We've drove about 12 miles now, and shame on me, never checked, but apparently the transfer case is basically dry because nothing came out. So very bad on my part, but own your mistakes. That was definitely a mistake. We never checked the fluids, and that's what excitement does to you. I got so excited to drive the truck that didn't do the basics. So going to get the pump back here, put some fluid in. We'll see if it drains through, or it could just be that there's stuff in there, but this is also plugged. I'm sure hoping that's the case, that it's just gummed up. But I like to set the phone down and get a little more intimate and figure out what's going on. All right, so we didn't have anything drain out of the transfer case, and then I noticed water started weeping out of it. So I took a little screwdriver, poked the drain hole, and not much gear oil in there, but guess what is in there? Water, lots of water. So it had water lubricating it while driving, but not much gear oil. So we're gonna drain that out, get it cleaned out. It's probably full. We've not had water in the truck, so that's been in there for a while. Don't know if that's collected, come to the pump, through the tank. There you go. You see the water was sitting in the bottom on top of the gear oil that's now coming out of it. We'll run this and flush it a few times because of the water that was in it, and address that. But not good. Definitely should have been changed before we ever put it on the road. But I'll let my excitement get the best of me. But still drove okay. Hopefully we got by with just some water oil churning mix and not much damage. So anyway, let's clean this thing out. All right, in hopes of finding redemption and hopefully salvation and not have doing any damage to the transfer case. I can't show because it took 2 hands to pump in, but we pumped in a bunch of fresh fluid, cycled through until I had nothing but fresh gear oil coming out down here, no water, none of the rust, none of the old. So hopefully we have cleared it. Obviously, if water was in that, most likely the seal between the transfer case and the pump housing is probably bad because they're basically one unit. But we have not put water in the truck, So that's before our time, but silly mistake. Hopefully no damage done, and the flush clears it out. We get fresh oil and avoid any further damage, if there was any, to the transfer case. So yeah, there's where we're at. Fingers crossed. All right, we've got the transfer case for the pump filled back up, plugs back in, but now that we're here in the sunlight, you can really see how much water and rust was inside that transfer case. We've driven the truck, drove fine, but obviously that is not good. So we flushed it with fresh fluid, have completely refilled it, fresh fluids, and hopefully that's okay. Obviously we got some seal issues too if water was in there, most likely coming in from the pump whenever the last time was this thing had water in it. But something we'll have to deal with later eventually, but hopefully for now we can go with what we have a good cruising season. That may be something that unfortunately requires pump removal, and I don't even know at this point if you could get parts for that, but we'll see how it goes. Fingers crossed. All right, let's recap. Today was a day, and we did things. Some things we did good, some things we did bad. Started off the day with just the intention of putting some more miles on the truck. Wanted to start driving it now that we can, keep things limber, fluids flowing. Went to the parts store, picked up a bunch of fluids, the transmission, transfer case, and rear differential of this truck all take 90-weight gear oil. Picked a bunch of that up with the intention of changing the fluids in the truck that we had not addressed yet. You know, early in the video we showed you the transmission, got to that, no problem there. Did great, drained it out, filled it up, all looks good. You know, it's got some seal leaks, but it's a 49. Got to the transfer case and had that uh-oh moment where got to thinking back. It's like, oh, we checked all the fluids on the truck. We checked differential, transmission, pulled plugs, old fluids, but all the fluids were full. We never pulled the plugs on the transfer case for whatever reason, oversight on my part. But that was a mistake because we pulled the plugs and nothing came out until we took a pick and cleaned out the drain hole, and then lots of water came out ahead of the gear oil and lots of rust, other things. So maybe okay, maybe not. Cleaned it out, flushed it several times with gear oil until everything flowed clear with fresh oil coming out. Put the plug back in, filled it up, and went and drove the truck again. Still seems to be okay, and actually the truck is much quieter with the fresh oil in the transmission in the transfer case. A lot of the whining went away. The truck's much quieter. Sounds better now, so I hope we didn't damage anything. You know, that was silly. Just complacency because the rest of the truck has been in such good shape, and a little bit of just the emotional excitement of finally, after a year, being able to drive the truck and be like, yeah, let's go. So that's a good reality check. Kind of pull back on things a bit. You know, we don't need to be driving too much with the tires as old as they are. The brake system still single piston master cylinder, that kind of stuff. They need to be bled a little better. But we do have the new master cylinder. It's on its way here from California. We'll get the brake system fixed up, split up, more modern on that, fix that, and we'll finish the fluid changes for the differential, other stuff before we do much more driving. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we can also get the tires on pretty soon. That shouldn't be too big of a deal. It's just a matter of time to get it done. But anyway, a good day overall. It seems like everything is still fine, although we're not going to be engaging the pump anytime soon like we thought we might, because finding that water in the transfer case means there's a seal out. Don't know if it means the seal has completely failed, and if you dump water in the pump, if it just will fill the transfer case up, or if the seal has just relaxed, and if the pump is under pressure, the water seeps by into the transfer case. But finding that much water in the transfer case just tells me that there's something wrong between the transfer case and the pump itself, which is allowing water in, whether it floods in or trickles in. We don't want to fill the transfer case back up with water. It's not good for it. Between the lubrication, dilution, corrosion, that kind of stuff, we're going to avoid that. So I have serious doubt at this point that even anytime this year we'll even try to engage the transfer case, because the water just tells me the shaft seal is bad. We won't be able to pump the truck safely or reliably, and we want to enjoy the truck. We've waited over a year to get to the point we could drive it, get the license registered, that kind of stuff. Don't want to tear a transfer case out that I doubt I can easily find a replacement for. I've not researched it, but it's a 49 transfer case along with the truck. Probably not a lot of them out there. There'll be a bolted replacement readily available. So don't want to get into that kind of work. We just want to try to have some fun with the truck this year. So yeah, good day, bad day. Mistakes were made, proper things were done, as is pretty typical. But anyway, like, subscribe, hit those buttons, notifications, that kind of stuff, depending on where you're checking us out, where you're viewing us at. We'd love for you to get involved. Hope to see you out sometime this summer. July 4th parades, that kind of stuff. Got a fire muster coming up in September we're going to try to make in Lexington, Kentucky, a few other things. But if you have questions, or if you want to tell me what I'm doing wrong, how big of an idiot I am for not checking the, the transfer case fluids, anything else, have questions, things you want explained on the truck, by all means, please drop a comment, send a message. We'll address those things as we can when we come back to the truck and do some more filming. So appreciate your time. Thanks for watching. We'll get some more content here for you soon and dive back into more stuff here on Fiery 49. Take care.